Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something today I think a lot of you SMB leaders out there are going to find super interesting. Um, Business transformation. You know that feeling, don't you?
Yeah.
The world's changing. Tech, especially, is just moving so fast, and you just know you have to adapt if you want to survive. But the real trick isn't realizing you need to transform. It's figuring out how.
You're absolutely right. That's the sticking point for so many SMB leaders.
Okay, so let's talk about the ways people usually try to go about it. What are the typical paths SMBs take when they start thinking about transformation? What are those go-to strategies?
Well, you usually see three main approaches, right? They either bring in those high-priced
Oh,
consultants,
yeah, consultant, sure.
try to build up internal teams with the right expertise, or,
Or just piece it all together with different tools.
yeah, exactly, a bunch of different point-specific tools.
The classic consultant internal team or tech solution dilemma. I think we've all seen at least one of those in action, maybe even all three at once. But here's where it gets interesting. I'd love to hear your take on this. There seem to be some fundamental gaps that these traditional methods just can't seem to overcome. It's like they were designed for a different era of business when change was, I don't know, more of a slow and steady process.
You hit the nail on the head. We call them the three critical gaps, and they often trip up even the most well-intentioned transformation efforts. And you're right, these approaches were built for a time when change was a one-time event, not the constant evolution that businesses face today.
All right, I'm all ears. Lay it on me. What are these critical gaps? What's the first one that catches so many SMBs?
First up is the capability gap. Think of it this way. You bring in a team of consultants, they do their thing, maybe implement some changes, and then they pack up and leave. But what happens to all that knowledge they brought in?
It disappears. Poof. Just like that. It's like building a sandcastle, only to have the tide wash it away a few hours later. And then you're left trying to rebuild it with no blueprint.
Yeah,
So it's a temporary fix, not a long-term solution.
exactly. And then you have internal teams who, let's be honest, are already super busy just keeping the day-to-day operations running. It's hard for them to stay on top of the latest trends and everything, especially in the tech world, which, as we said, is constantly evolving.
Oh, and speaking of tech, don't even get me started on those point solutions. I feel like every SMB leader has a drawer full of software subscriptions they bought and aren't even using, and you end up with a bunch of tools that don't even talk to each other.
A recipe for integration nightmares, really. You're constantly trying to force these different pieces to fit together, and it just makes things more complicated, not less.
Okay, so we've got the capability gap, the lack of lasting knowledge and skills. What's the next hurdle SMBs face?
Next, we have the capacity gap. Most SMBs just don't have tons of resources to throw at huge transformation projects.
You can't exactly build a new wing onto your business just to house a transformation team, right? Your existing teams are already busy just handling the core parts of the business.
Exactly. It's like trying to add a swimming pool to your house while you're still living in it and trying to go about your daily life, you know? It's disruptive, it's messy, and it's probably going to take way longer than you thought.
So limited in terms of people, time, and expertise, not a great starting point when you're trying to tackle a complex transformation. All right, and the third gap, the one that usually derails these efforts.
That would be the cash gap. Transformation, especially the way it's traditionally done, can be really expensive. Consultants charge a lot, building internal teams means more overhead, and those point solutions, they add up fast.
It's the financial drain a lot of SMBs just can't handle, right? You know you need to transform, but you just don't have the financial resources to make it happen in a sustainable way.
You're caught between a rock and a hard place.
So what's the impact of these gaps? How do they actually play out?
Well, transformations stall, resources get wasted, and leaders start to feel like they're always playing catch up, you know? They see those bigger companies pulling ahead seemingly effortlessly and wonder, how do they do it?
Yeah, it can feel impossible.
Yeah.
But before we give up, let's dig into WHY. These traditional approaches, which might have worked in the past, are falling short now in today's business world. Let's start with those high-priced consultants. What's the main problem there?
I think the biggest issue is they often provide solutions that are expensive and temporary. You know, consultants come in, offer advice, maybe implement a few changes, and then they disappear, taking all that expertise with them.
And just like we said before, that knowledge walks right out the door with them. It's just not a sustainable way to drive the kind of continuous change that businesses need now.
It's like taking a crash course in swimming, but then never getting into the pool to actually practice. You might learn the basic strokes, but you're not going to become a strong swimmer that way.
Great analogy. So consultants are out. What about building up your own internal teams? That seems like it would solve that whole knowledge walking out the door problem, right? You're investing in your own people, building expertise within the company. But it's got to have its own set of challenges, or everyone would be doing it.
You're right. It does solve the knowledge problem, but it creates others. First, like we discussed, it's expensive. You're talking salaries, benefits, training, and all that overhead that comes with hiring more people. And that's before they even start working on the transformation.
And even if you can afford it, how do you keep their expertise up to date? The business world, especially tech, changes so fast that it's almost impossible to keep up, even with training programs and things like that.
Absolutely. And there's also the issue of scalability. As your business grows and your transformation needs change, you have to constantly adjust the size and expertise of your team. Trying to find the right people at the right time with the right skills can be pretty chaotic.
It's like you're trying to build a rocket ship while it's already in flight. You have to constantly adapt, bring in specialists, add new components on the fly, and make sure everything integrates perfectly so nothing explodes.
Right.
That's a lot to ask of any SMB.
It is. It takes a level of agility and resourcefulness that most SMBs just don't have.
So that brings us to our final option in the traditional transformation toolbox: point solutions.
Right.
Those shiny pieces of software that promise to fix all your problems with just a few clicks. So tempting. They seem like a quick fix. Need a better CRM? Buy a CRM solution. Want to manage projects better? Get a project management tool. But then what happens?
You end up exactly where we talked about before, with a bunch of tools that don't talk to each other, that don't give you a full picture of your business, and you spend more time integrating them than actually using them to, improve your business.
And we can't forget the cost of buying and maintaining all those separate solutions. It can become a real money pit.
Yeah.
So we've looked at those three traditional approaches, and they're expensive, they're often temporary, and they don't really address how complex and interconnected business is in the digital age. So is there another way? Is there a way for SMBs to actually overcome these three gaps and successfully transform? What do they really need to make this happen?
That's the million-dollar question. What SMBs really need is a way to build lasting transformation capability, not just a Band-Aid fix, right? They need to scale their resources without spending a fortune, and they need access to, really great expertise, top-tier expertise, without those huge consulting fees.
Sounds impossible. Have we hit a wall here?
It might have seemed impossible a while ago, but now, with all the progress in artificial intelligence, AI, we're seeing a real game changer starting to emerge. And we're back, diving deeper into the world of business transformation and how AI is, changing everything, especially for SMBs.
We ended last time with the promise of AI offering a real solution to those three critical gaps that can really derail transformation: capability, capacity, and cash. So how does AI deliver on that? Tell me more.
AI gives you access to expertise, right? It lets you scale your resources, and it helps you drive change in a way that's actually affordable. Might have sounded like something out of a movie a few years ago, but it's real now thanks to platforms like BusinessGPS.ai.
BusinessGPS.ai. Okay, yeah, we hear that name a lot these days. But for those who aren't familiar, what is it exactly? What makes it different from all those other business software companies out there?
Think of it as like a digital transformation co-pilot powered by AI. Their AI, it's called Athena, analyzes your business data, gives you customized recommendations. It even helps you implement changes. Like having a consultant who's available 24/7 but doesn't sleep, doesn't charge hourly, and can process information like insanely fast.
So powerful. So BusinessGPS.ai is using AI to give SMBs that edge they need in this crazy world of transformation. But how does it actually work? Do I just plug in my data and cross my fingers, or is there a more structured way to do it?
It's way more than just plugging in data. BusinessGPS.ai takes this AI and combines it with what they call an O2O process, which stands for Opportunity to Operations. Basically, it's a framework, a way to connect the dots between your high-level goals, the big opportunities, and the day-to-day stuff you need to change to reach those goals.
Makes sense. It's not enough to have those big ideas. You have to have a way to turn those ideas into action, into real changes in your business. Opportunity to operations. I like that. Very practical. But how does Athena, that AI expert, fit into this O2O framework?
Athena and their other AI avatars act like guides, advisors throughout that whole O2O process. They help you figure out your biggest opportunities, your biggest challenges, analyze your current data and processes, and then they recommend specific things you can do to bridge the gap between, where you are and where you want to be.
So let's say I'm running an SMB, and I'm ready to give BusinessGPS.ai a shot. Walk me through it. What's my first step? Do I just fire up Athena and start asking questions?
Well, first, you got to get clear on those specific opportunities and challenges you're facing. What are your biggest goals for the business? What are you struggling with? What keeps you up at night? Athena helps you figure all that out, through a bunch of prompts and questions.
So it's not just about plugging in numbers and getting a generic report back. You're actually talking back and forth with this AI. It's like brainstorming with a super smart business strategist who just happens to be amazing at crunching data.
Exactly. It's like having a transformation expert right there with you, asking the right questions, challenging you a little bit, helping you see your business in a new way.
So I've had that deep conversation with Asina, figured out my goals, maybe even uncovered some things I hadn't even thought of before. What's next? Does Athena just give me a plan and say, good luck?
It's much more involved than that. BusinessGPS.ai takes a holistic approach. Remember, it's about connecting those big strategic opportunities to your actual operations, the things you do every day to keep the business running.
So it's about making sure those ideas are actually doable,
Yeah.
like grounding them in the reality of how my business works.
That's it. And that's where Athena's analytical power comes in. She dives deep into your processes, your data, your systems, everything. She's looking at everything from customer interactions to your supply chain, looking for patterns, things that aren't efficient, places where you can improve.
It's like getting a 360-degree view of your business, not just focusing on one department or thing, understanding how it all fits together, right?
Yeah.
And then, finding those areas that are holding you back or could be improved.
Right. And based on all that analysis, Athena starts to create recommendations that are personalized just for you, for how you can optimize things to reach those strategic goals we were talking about. She's not just telling you what to change, she's explaining why these changes matter and how they'll help you improve those key performance indicators.
Now, that's interesting. What kinds of recommendations are we talking about? Can you give me some examples of how Athena would actually guide an SMB?
The recommendations can be anything from streamlining certain workflows to using new tech, even like restructuring teams or roles. Imagine you're an online store and you're having trouble with customer retention. Athena might look at your customer data and realize that a lot of customers abandon their shopping carts.
That's a big one for e-commerce, yeah. What would Athena recommend in that case?
Maybe she'd recommend using a chatbot to answer customer questions right away, or offering discounts to encourage people to finish their purchases, or even redesigning the checkout process to make it easier. And what's really cool is that these recommendations are always evolving based on your feedback and how the market changes.
So it's not just a static plan. It's like a living thing, always adapting to your business and the market.
Exactly. And because Athena has all this data and can analyze it super fast, she can spot opportunities, even potential problems that we humans might miss. It's like having another set of eyes on your business, but eyes that are powered by AI.
Right. We humans can get stuck in our ways. We have our biases and blind spots. So it's like having a fresh perspective, but one that's really informed about your specific business.
And here's another thing that makes BusinessGPS.ai different. Athena doesn't just tell you what to do, she tells you why.
Oh, that's huge. It's the difference between blindly following orders and, actually understanding the logic behind the decisions.
It's about turning the whole experience into a real partnership, where you understand why the decisions are being made.
That's where the learning part of BusinessGPS.ai comes in, right? By getting that why, you and your team are building your own transformation skills. You're getting a deeper understanding of your business, of the market, and of the strategies that will help you succeed.
That's the whole point. Remember the capability gap we talked about. BusinessGPS.ai helps you fill that gap. It's like having a built-in transformation coach, always there to answer your questions and guide you.
Okay, I'm sold on the capability part. But what about capacity and cash? How does BusinessGPS.ai address those? Because those are real challenges for SMBs.
Well, think about it. With BusinessGPS.ai, you don't need to hire a whole team of consultants or build a massive internal team. Athena and those other AI avatars, they do a lot of the work for you.
You're basically getting more done without hiring more people. That's huge for SMBs. It's like having a whole team of experts, but without the cost.
Exactly. And because you're not spending all that money on consultants or big teams, you're also addressing the cash gap. You're getting access to top-notch expertise and a really powerful platform, but for a lot less than the traditional way.
That's what I love about tech, when it's done right. It levels the playing field, gives SMBs a real shot at competing with the big guys.
I agree. And with AI getting smarter and easier to use all the time, we're going to see even more amazing things happen in this space. We're just at the beginning of like a whole new era of business.
This has been eye-opening. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have one more question. We've talked about the techie side of BusinessGPS.ai, about Athena and all that, but what about the people? How does this actually impact the people in a company? Because really, transformation is about people, right? Helping them adapt and do well in a world that's always changing.
That's a great question and a really important one. We're going to tackle that in the next part of our deep dive. We'll talk about how BusinessGPS.ai helps create a culture of continuous improvement, how it empowers employees, and ultimately how it builds companies that are more adaptable and resilient. Companies that can handle whatever comes their way in the business world.
Sounds like we've got a lot more to explore. So for all you listeners out there, come back with us as we continue talking about AI-driven transformation and how it's going to change the future of business, especially for those innovative SMBs that are the heart of our economy. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive on AI-powered transformation. We've talked about how the traditional ways of doing things just aren't cutting it anymore, and we've seen how AI can offer a whole new approach, especially with platforms like BusinessGPS.ai, helping SMBs overcome those hurdles. And as we wrap things up today, I really want to focus on something that's super important in any kind of transformation, the human element. Because ultimately, it's people who make change happen, who use these new technologies, who really decide if a transformation is going to work or not, right?
You got it.
It's easy to get excited about all the cool new tech, the algorithms, the dashboards, all that. But we can't forget that transformation is really about people, helping them adapt, learn new skills, and feel like they can actually contribute. So how does BusinessGPS.ai, with all its AI smarts, those avatars like Athena, how does it actually support the human side of things? Because it's not just about telling people what to do. It's about empowering them to be part of the process.
One of the big things BusinessGPS.ai does is it helps create a culture of, continuous learning and improvement. Remember how we talked about Athena explaining the why behind her recommendations? That's a big part of it. It's not just following orders from a computer. It's about understanding the thinking behind those decisions.
It's like instead of just being told to clean your room, you understand that a clean space actually helps you focus. Makes more sense that way.
Exactly. When people get the why, they're more likely to buy in, to really participate, even come up with their own ideas for how to improve things. It's like you're sparking their curiosity, which is so important for change to actually work.
So it's like using AI to help us be even smarter, not to replace us. It's about empowering people to learn, grow, become even more valuable to their companies.
Exactly. And on top of explaining the why, BusinessGPS.ai also has built-in training, support resources to help people get up to speed with all the new stuff. They've got tutorials, knowledge bases. You can even talk directly to their support team if you need to.
That's huge,
Mhm.
because even if you're comfortable with technology, new systems can still be overwhelming, especially when you're talking about something as complex as business transformation. Having that support makes a big difference in how smooth things go, how quickly people feel like they can actually use those new tools.
Yeah, and it shows employees that they're not being left behind. The company is investing in them, giving them the tools they need to succeed.
It's like, giving someone a map and a compass before they go on an adventure. Makes you feel more confident, more prepared, even excited to try new things. So we've got the learning piece, the training, but what else is there when it comes to the human side of things?
Transparency is big too. BusinessGPS.ai makes it easy to see how things are progressing, what impact those changes are having, and everyone can share those insights.
I like that. So often, it feels like transformation stuff is kept secret, like only a few people know what's going on. Creates a lot of fear, uncertainty. Feels like things are being done to you, not with you.
Yeah, and that lack of transparency can kill a transformation. BusinessGPS.ai does it differently. They make the whole process clear and easy to understand for everyone, from the CEO to the people on the front lines.
So it's not just this mysterious black box. It's about being open, working together, so everyone feels involved and can see how they're contributing.
Exactly. It builds trust, gets people on board, and ultimately everyone takes more ownership and feels more accountable.
And speaking of fear, I think we need to address the elephant in the room. Job security. It's that whole robots are taking over thing. Does BusinessGPS.ai do anything to address that? Because I'm guessing Athena and all those AI helpers haven't made humans completely obsolete.
No, of course not. The goal isn't to replace people with AI. It's about finding that right mix, that perfect collaboration. And BusinessGPS.ai does a great job of showing how that works.
So it's not about AI versus humans. It's about both working together, right?
Right. AI is awesome at handling massive amounts of data, finding those hidden patterns, making things more efficient. But humans, we're good at empathy, at being creative, making those tough decisions that need intuition, emotional intelligence, that human touch.
So the AI takes care of the boring stuff, which lets humans focus on being, well, human.
Exactly. It frees up their time and energy to do those things that require creativity, problem solving, building relationships, being innovative, the things AI can't do, the things that make us human.
This has been a truly amazing deep dive. We've gone from the problems with the old way of transforming businesses to all the possibilities with AI. And with platforms like BusinessGPS.ai in particular, we've seen how technology, when it's designed with people in mind, can help companies not just survive, but really thrive.
It has been an interesting journey, and I think what we've learned is that the future of business isn't about picking between humans and AI. It's about finding that sweet spot where technology helps us do more, be more, and allows us to focus on those uniquely human things.
Well said. And to all our listeners out there, remember, you don't have to figure this all out on your own. There are tools, resources like BusinessGPS.ai that can guide you, empower your teams, and help you unlock the incredible potential that's already within your company. So keep exploring, keep innovating, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the business world. That's a wrap for today's deep dive. Until next time.